We went to vacation for Seattle, probably for a week last week.
Hare Krishna, very nice. Prabhuji, did you have a chance to visit Samamish temple, Prabhu? Did you go to Samamish temple?
Yeah.
Very well.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get started, Prabhuji and Mataji. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, The Science of God, and Chapter 15, Instructions for Civilized Human Beings, and text number 68. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yada hi yuyam rupadeva dustyaja dapadghanaduttaratatmanah prabho yat padapankeroha sevaya bhava naharishin jitadiggajah kratum. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O King Yudhishthira, because of your service to the Supreme Lord, all of you Pandavas defeated the greatest dangers posed by numerous kings and demigods. By serving the lotus feet of Krishna, you conquered great enemies who are like elephants, and thus you collected ingredients for sacrifice. By His grace, may you be delivered from the material involvement. Purport. Placing himself as an ordinary householder, Maharaja Yudhishthira inquired from Narada Muni of a Gruha Modhadhi, a person who is entangled in household life and who thus continues to remain a fool, can be delivered. Narada Muni encouraged Maharaj Yudhishthira by saying, "You are already on the safe side because of you, along with your entire family, have become a pure devotee of Krishna. By Krishna's grace, the Pandavas conquered in the battle of Kurukshetra and were saved from many dangers posed not only by the king, not only by kings, but sometimes even by the demigods. Thus, they are a practical example of how to live in security and safety by the grace of Krishna. Everyone should follow the example of the Pandavas who showed how to be saved by the grace of Krishna. Our Krishna conscious movement is intended to teach how everyone can live peacefully in this material world and at the end of life return home back to Godhead. In the material world, there are always dangers at every step. Padam padam yat vipadam na tesham. Nonetheless, if one takes shelter of Krishna without hesitation and keeps under the shelter of Krishna, he can easily cross the ocean of nescience. Samasrita ye pada pallava plavam mahatpadam punya yasho murare. To the devotee, this great ocean of nescience becomes like a puddle of water in the hoof print of a cow. A pure devotee, without embarrassing himself by trying for elevation in so many ways, stays in the safest position as a servant of Krishna, and thus his life is eternally safe, without a doubt. End of purport. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadotam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitancha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyach Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayite girim yat krupadam aham vande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam. Prabhuji and Mataji, with your blessings and permission, on this auspicious day of Ekadashi, both in US and also in India, I would like to speak on this wonderful verse, the conversation between Narada Muni, one of the greatest acharyas in Brahma Madhva Sampradaya, and an authority on bhakti, and also Maharaj Yudhishthir, who is he is considered as one of the Rajarshis. So Srila Prabhupada, in his explanations about the Vedic system, Krishna consciousness, he said there were two Vedic kings that were unparalleled in our history. The greatest kings that Mother India has ever seen. Two kings. One is Lord Ramchandra and the second one is Yudhishthir Maharaj. So just imagine how much pious and rightly positioned Yudhishthir Maharaj himself was. And that great soul was seeking association from Narada Muni. And Yudhishthir Maharaj, he is pious throughout his life. He is not only a perfect Kshatriya, but he is also very pious. That is the reason he is regarded as a Rajarshi, a great king, who is equally positioned not only to handle the complexities of ruling a kingdom, the tribulations of life that comes along with it, the challenges that comes along with by maintaining a huge family and the rivalries within the family, and at the same time balance is the spiritual interests and put Krishna at the top of everything. So despite all these distractions, one who can keep Krishna and the interests of Krishna and teachings of Krishna as the guiding force, and he is very fortunate soul. And that's the reason Yudhishthira Maharaj is regarded as one of the great authorities. So that great person was also recognized by Krishna and blessed by Krishna, protected by Krishna during his lifetime. So there are some things I may be repeating in this class that I have already spoken, but to build a narration, I'm going to say that one time when Krishna was in Hastinapur, this happened before Yudhishthir or the Duryodhan became kings, right? So Duryodhan, remember Duryodhan, he is also a kind of devotee, even though he was not a pure devotee, because he was born in the family of saintly kings. In the Bharata dynasty, there were many Rajarshis who were born in that family. So not an ordinary envious person can born in that family. But because of his envious towards Pandavas, he became more and more degraded in his consciousness, and finally ended up his life in disaster. So there was one time Krishna asked both of them in Hastinapur to go around, and first to Yudhishthir to go around and find who is more qualified than him, and then asked Duryodhan who is less qualified than him. Same city, same day, same time. And both of them came back to Krishna, and Duryodhan said, there is nobody who is more qualified than me. I am the greatest. And he didn't bring anybody. So I am the greatest, so I did not find anybody who is more qualified than me. And Yudhishthira Maharaj also came empty, and he did not bring anyone. And he said the same thing. I did not find anybody who is less qualified than me. So I am the least qualified in this great city of Hastinapur. So this teaches us a very important lesson. When we think we have qualifications, any qualification, we naturally and automatically become proud, even without our knowledge. Right? The moment we think we have any qualification, we naturally and automatically become proud. In that state of pride, we believe and act as if we are the doer. We become attached to those positions, whatever we are in, even if it is insignificant mosquito, or we can be Indragopa or Indra. We will become attached to those positions because these happens just like a water under the carpet. The moment we think we have any qualifications, that is the beginning of our fall down, because the immediately pride enters into our heart. So when a person happens to be in such a position, so that gives a very clear view or clear understanding about his consciousness. So in this case, Krishna clearly knows that Yudhishthira Maharaj is very humble because he thinks he is the least qualified. He can put everybody's interest before his own interest, and he can serve them humbly and also follow the instructions of the Acharya. Because Duryodhan, he thinks he is the most qualified, and that naturally brings calamity. So what happened, the Acharyas explained that when a pride enters into the heart of anybody, and if Krishna does not think about that person, he would let that person to do whatever he wants to do. Okay? So if somebody becomes proud, that either we see many such people, presidents, past presidents, politicians, whether they are in power or not, even to some team lead, manager in our daily life, either at home or office. So if they are continue to rule, just think that there is no mercy of Krishna on them because they continue to be proud. But when Krishna is merciful on them, he would take away everything that is causing that pride, both directly and indirectly, and make that person humble. So one of the examples that we studied in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, is Govardhan Leela. So Indra was an example of this situation. And when he was in a similar situation, and he started thinking he was the doer, and he was attached to his role. And when Krishna was performing all these wonderful pastimes, he was thinking, who is this 7-year-old kid doing all these things? And he started sending his Samvartaka clouds, and you know the entire story. But when Krishna decided to act on that, so Krishna's intention was not to take away the position of Indra, because Indra is a devotee. But Krishna humiliated Indra before everybody. Krishna humiliated Indra. to the extent that eventually Indra has to come and fall at the feet of Surabhika. So Krishna humiliated him not to take away his position, but to show his mercy and to give the realization of the purpose of life. Right? That purpose of life is eventually, as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained, is to obtain Krishna Prema. And in this verse, also Narada Muni is explaining, and Prabhupada is explaining in the purport that so our Krishna conscious movement is intended to teach how everyone can live peacefully in this material world and at the end of life return home back to Godhead. So we have to keep a check and to see at any moment we think we have any qualifications. So one of the greatest examples is a Brahmana called Vasudeva, Vasudeva the leper or Vasudeva Vipra, who is a resident of Kurma Kshetra. Okay. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, during his South India trip, when he visited the Kurma Kshetra and spent some time in that place, so this Vasudeva Vipra, he came to know that Lord Chaitanya has come and he has an acute leper, and he was working so hard to support his family, and unfortunately he contracted the leprosy, and it was very acute, and his family kicked him out mercilessly. So it is all by the mercy of Krishna, right? So when somebody is attached to the something, whether it is Indra attached to Amravati, his position, or a Vasudeva Vipra attached to his family relations, or Pandavas or Kauravas to the positions and respect that comes from Krishna, knows exactly what our weakness is, which we love more than Krishna himself. And he takes that vulnerable spot and crushes that weakness to the, he powders that weakness to such an extent that the same weakness comes against us to kill, to humiliate, to harass us. The same thing Yudhishthira Maharaj happened. He was so attached to his family members, in a good sense, to serve them, worship them, to learn from them, like Bhishma, Drona, and Dhritarashtra, because they were very elderly, knowledgeable, powerful, and saintly people. Right? Saintly people like Vidura. Right? So, and what Krishna did, he turned all of them against Yudhishthira Maharaj. He turned against them to such an extent that his own wife was insulted in the royal court of Kurus, and none of them came to his protection. None of them came to his support. He was thrown into jungle, and every day in the jungle for 14 years, and he was threatened about his life, and he was continuously living under the fear of his life. And it was he was working under another king of Virat as a servant, which is extreme humiliation for somebody who was the emperor of the whole planet. So Krishna humiliates them, humiliates to remove and bring realizations that such weaknesses of attachment to anything and everything except Krishna will cause only the suffering in the end. So that very same people, he was so loving, caring, and respecting, worshipping, learning. All these people came eventually to kill him in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So here Vasudeva Vipra was kicked out, and he contracted a acute leprosy, and the insects were eating his flesh. And what happened at one time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, and he wants to take darshan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And by the time he reached the place where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was staying, he realized that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu already left Kurmakshetra and went southward, further into South India. So he went back and in a state of disparity, and the insects that were eating his flesh, and when they fall down, he take them away again and put them on his body and tell them that you have equal right. Yes, I have on this body. So you go and eat this flesh. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from so far away, as Paramatma in everybody's heart, realized the humility of this Vasudeva the leper, the Vasudeva the Vipra. And he came back walking into Kurmakshetra and gave him the hug. And that supreme hug, the spiritual bliss that any devotee can get, right? In Ramayana, we know that even in Sikshastakam prayers, right? We know that when Krishna is pleased, and the greatest gift that we get from Krishna is a hug, just like Hanuman received from Sri Ram. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came back and gave a hug to this Vasudeva, and his leprosy was cured, and he became handsome again. And of course, he was so sad after that, and he told Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that, oh my Lord, why you gave me all this beauty, strength, and all these things again? And this beauty will again bring my pride back, and I will start committing offenses. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him, you will not do that. So there are two things you always follow. When you follow these two things, and you will never make such offenses. One, chant always Harinam. Chant always Harinam. And the second thing he said was, what was the second thing? I will, if I remember, Prabhuji, and forgive me, I think my memory is running dry now, but I will come back and explain this point. But so was he gave, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave two instructions. So do these two things and the pride will never come back. Here the key word is pride, right? How pride will destroy bhakti. So remember, bhakti is absolute. Bhakti is not relative. Bhakti is not material. Bhakti is absolute. And bhakti is such a great thing that it attracts even Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the object of that bhakti. So no material condition, whether it is boon or curse, what varna we have born, from Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaisya, Sudra, or what ashrama we are in, what physical abilities we have, whether we have all the hands or legs, do we have all the abilities to hold the Japmala or not, geographical location, language, religion, nationality, none of these material conditions can stop the execution of bhakti, because bhakti is absolute. So in today's world, if you see the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, this Harinam Mahamantra, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, is chanted across all 5 continents. And the devotees who are chanting, they come from various backgrounds. The reason why they are able to practice bhakti proves that bhakti is absolute. So their past life, whether they are born in Varnashram Dharma or not, what country they belong to, they know Krishna, none of them can stops from practicing bhakti. Even the worst enemy of Krishna, all of a sudden he can decide to surrender to Krishna and become a pure devotee. So Krishna, at every moment, he gives every living entity the opportunity to surrender to him and practice bhakti. It is the free will that we have to use it in right sense, so that we can alter our current destination because of our past karma, and succeed to reach the goal of human life. So, in this verse, the conversation between Yudhishthir Maharaj and Narada Muni, he is continuing, and Narada Muni is answering Yudhishthir Maharaj's questions. But if we look into the Vedic literature, the greatest truths in Vedic literature have been revealed through spiritual conversations. It is a dialogue between different personalities. So, significant amount of these conversations directly happened with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Krishna, in the beginning of the creation, he spoke directly to Brahma, and he spoke only 4 verses, the Chatusloki of Srimad Bhagavatam. And because both Lord Brahma and Lord Krishna are supremely qualified, so all that it takes Krishna to enlighten Brahma is just 4 slokas. And that 4 slokas, those seed slokas, that 4 Chatusloki, were installed into his heart, and that expanded into the all other Vedic knowledge. Similarly, Krishna spoke to Arjun, and he spoke to Arjun in the around 500 plus slokas, and probably some acharyas said it took about 2 hours and less than 2 hours, the whole conversation. But Krishna gave so much of knowledge. The same 4 slokas originally he spoke to Brahma has been expanded, as because we are on the verge of ending Dwapara Yuga and the onset of Kali Yuga. So for Kali Yuga people, it requires much more low-level descriptions. So similarly, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke to the Shat Goswamis, and Lord Brahma spoke to Narada Muni. There are many spiritual conversations happened, right? So these conversations, primary conversations, if we say, happened between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and another Jiva. And the secondary conversations that happened between 2 Jivas. So whatever the knowledge that was originally given by the Lord have been realized and conversed between the living entities, so that that knowledge can be understood to that particular time, place, and circumstances, for the better understanding of that particular recipient or the rest of the society that is going to come in future. So here, on the same point here, Narada Muni, who is one of those greatest acharyas, right, immediately after Lord Brahma, has received that knowledge from Brahma, and he was expanding that points to Yudhishthira Maharaj. So he says, O King Yudhishthira, because of your service to the Supreme Lord, all of you Pandavas defeated the greatest dangers posed by the numerous kings and demigods. So Pandavas, when they went into the battlefield, we need to understand a couple mechanics here. There were less number of people on the Pandava side, which is 7 Akshauhinis, and there were 11 Akshauhinis on the enemy side, on the Kauravas side. And that tells us a truth that this is a material world, and there are more enemies of Krishna in this material world than friends of Krishna. And the enemies are more powerful than friends of Krishna. And why Krishna made Pandavas less powerful than Kauravas? And he did that to prove three important things. Krishna intentionally made Pandavas less powerful. In Bhagavat itself, in the beginning, Parikshit Maharaj explains that the Bhishma, Drona, Karna, and many other Maharadis and Kauravas side, they are like Timingalas. And Arjun, who is his grandfather, is like a small fish before them. And why Krishna did like that? Krishna could have given much more power to Arjun, so that Arjun could have easily defeated Bhishma and all these other great warriors. But he intentionally made Pandavas less powerful than Kauravas to teach us three lessons. The first one is that in this material world, enviousness towards Krishna is formidable. Okay? Is formidable and sometimes more intense than love towards Krishna. The second one is that with Krishna's protection in place on his devotees, the power of individual jiva is immaterial. So he wants to prove that. So no material power, however great that can be, can pierce the protection layer of Krishna. So Krishna's devotees are protected by Krishna 24/7. So the Kauravas were throwing so many divine weapons to kill Pandavas, but they could not able to harm them. So Krishna wants to prove that yes, you are powerful. Bhishma, you are powerful. Drona, you are powerful. Karna, you are powerful than Arjun, but you cannot kill them. You cannot kill Pandavas because I am protecting them. So the same thing that Bhishma told Duryodhana in the battlefield. There was one time when the battle is happening, Duryodhana was so upset that Bhishma was not fighting to the fullest of his capacity and giving him victory. So he went to the camp of Bhishma and asked, "Oh Pitama, oh grandfather, oh grandsire, so you are Pandav Pakshapati. So even though you are fighting on my side, actually you like Pandavas more, but you are not following your Kshatriya Dharma." So then Bhishma replied that it is not like that, Duryodhana. It doesn't matter how strong I am. Actually, I am very strong, and all five Pandavas together cannot win this battle, or even cannot survive in a battle for more than a day with me. But the point is that as long as Krishna is protecting them, nobody can defeat Pandavas. So Duryodhana, because he was so envious of Pandavas, and because of his enviousness, he could not able to understand Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he was thinking this is all not a valid argument. So in order to prove that point, Bhishma, what he did was, he spread a silk cloth before him. And he chanted some mantras, which nobody in that audience knows. And he chanted some mantras, and because of those 5 mantras, 5 arrows appeared on the silk cloth. And he told Duryodhana, you take these 5 arrows and go back to your camp and bring tomorrow to the battlefield. I will ask you, and I will take these 5 arrows from you tomorrow in the battlefield. And if you can give me these 5 arrows tomorrow, I will kill all 5 Pandavas by end of day tomorrow. So Duryodhana took those 5 arrows back to his camp, and Bhishma went to sleep. And guess what? Krishna knows this, and he called Pandavas, and he called Duryodhana, and he called Arjun, And he reminded Arjun that, Arjun, do you remember when Akshas were attacking Kauravas in the forest, when Duryodhan came to insult you, you and Bhima went and saved Duryodhan's life. And because you saved his life, Duryodhan gave you a boon. But you did not use that boon. So now it is the time that you go to Duryodhan and ask that boon. And as a result of that boon, get those 5 arrows. So Arjun jumped onto a horse and he alone went to Duryodhan's camp. And Duryodhan received him with great honors because you remember, he is a Kshatriya, he is well behaved. Because of his enviousness towards Pandavas, and he was so attracted to Draupadi. And so that the whole thing messed up. So because unless we control that lust and attraction towards material opulences, even a great person who was born in the Kuru dynasty can become like a demon. So Arjun was received by Duryodhan, and he said, "Oh Arjuna, what a surprise you came to my place at this very odd time. So what can I do? What do you want?" And he gave him the water, and after some discussion, he said, "Oh Duryodhan, do you remember you gave me a boon some time ago?" And yes, I remember. What do you want? Ask anything that I can give entire Hastinapur to you. Remember, for the same Hastinapur, they are fighting that battle. They are in the middle of a battle in Kurukshetra. So Arjuna said that I am also a Kshatriya. I will not take Hastinapur as a gift. I will win this battle and take Hastinapur. But for that boon, I want the 5 arrows that Bhishma has given to you. And then Duryodhan realized, and he has no choice but to give those 5 arrows to Arjuna. And next day morning, Bhishma asked, "Where are those 5 arrows?" And he said, "Arjuna came last night and took them up." Now you know why we cannot kill Pandavas, right? So those who are protected by Krishna, so Krishna, he wants to he wants to prove this point that even if they are insignificant and inferior, but as long as they are protected by Krishna, no powerful or no material power can do any harm to them. That is guaranteed, which is one of the purports here. The third point that Krishna wants to prove is that devotional service to the Lord is superior to any material opulence and overpowers all material qualities. So even though Pandavas are at one point they are kings and eventually become emperors, but when they were asked to go into the forest, they just walked out. And when they were asked to go to Swargarohan at the end of life, they just walked out. So they are not attached to any opulence or the power that came into their life. They are attached to only the service. So they know, and Krishna wants to prove through Pandavas that devotional service to the Lord is superior. And as long as we are attached to that service attitude, and not the service, but the service attitude, Krishna is pleased. And a very similar pastime is in Ramayana. And the Vanaras took to so much pain to cross the ocean and reach Lanka, and fought such a ghastly war with Ravana and his mystic armies, and so many of the Vanaras died. And when eventually the war was over, Ravana was killed, the demigods came, appeared and started praising Ramchandra. So Ramchandra knows that out of his army, many Vanaras were killed and many were wounded, and they were suffering so much, materially at least. So he ordered the demigods that whoever has died already, bring them back to the life. And whoever was injured, and treat all their wounds, and they should get beautiful, healthy, and disease-free bodies. And after this, their families should get the wealth that for generations to come, they don't need to worry about any financial troubles. Give them all the opulence. Why Ramchandra did this after the sacrifice, but did not offer the same thing before the war, right? To prove that are we willing to sacrifice anything and everything for the sake of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? If we were given that the benefit before we actually entered into the war, definitely it is not a pure devotional service, because we are expecting something in return of our service. So that whether it is Sri Ramchandra or Krishna, Anyabhilashita Sunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavrutam Anukulena Krishnanaselanam Bhakti Ruttama. So bhakti is absolute, and no material condition can stop its execution. Even the worst enemy of Krishna can turn around and become a pure devotee of Krishna. So we need to understand from these verses that the greatest boon that we can get is to become servant of servant, because that is what pleases Krishna. Krishna himself says that the person is devotee, but the person who says he is my devotee's devotee, he is my devotee. So when we become servant of servant, Gopi Bhartur Pada Kamlayor Dasa Dasa Dasanu Dasa. So in that mood of servant of servant, so the humility develops. And only in that utmost humility, one can chant the pure names of Krishna. Just like that Vasudeva Vipra, when he was putting the worms back onto his feet and asking them to eat the flesh, that was the utmost humility that attracted the attention of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So only in such humility, when somebody thinks he does not have any qualification, he is totally useless outside the mercy of Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, only in that state of consciousness, that person can chant the holy names of Krishna. Okay? So that's all I want to say today, Prabhuji and Mataji. Andras Prabhupada ki jai.
Come in. Come in.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandot Prabhuji. Can you hear me, Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna. Yes.
1 minute, Prabhuji. I'm trying to. Yeah. So, Prabhuji, first of all, thank you for the lecture, Prabhuji. I hope you're in good health, and we give you this austerity of staying late just before the Ekadashi day. Very grateful, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, one question I have is, normally, when it comes to ISKCON, our society, the exclusivity towards Krishna Bhakti is very unique, in our movement, especially with Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The aspect of total surrender to Krishna only is directly, indirectly, clearly understood whoever comes to our movement. And many times, like I've been practicing for some years now, and I feel very, very secure and very happy that I'm able to maybe accept that is the way it is going. It should be like single-pointed focus towards surrender to Krishna only. But for new people, often the question comes that sometimes, like we're saying, exclusively towards Krishna Bhakti, with total humility and surrender is needed. But that kind of makes them a little upset. They're like, okay, I also like somebody else. Why it has to be only Krishna? Why not along with Krishna somebody else? Like it can be Ganeshi, it can be some Ishta Devata, which is okay to a certain extent, but we feel that if there is anybody else on the altar, there is a chance that our shelter might be partial towards Krishna and partially towards somebody else. So there is it becomes very difficult to explain. Not very newcomer. First of all, we don't even discuss this topic. But people are practicing for over 3-4 years and still they are a little bit, bent here and there. How do we convey? What is the right words to convey, and how important it is to convey this?
The specific instructions on this topic comes from Narada Muni in the Narada Bhakti Sutra, Prabhuji. So in the first, I believe, first 8 sutras, Narada Muni explains how bhakti is exclusive and only towards Krishna. It doesn't involve anybody. So again, Rupa Goswami explains in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu the same point. But your question is worth a full class, Prabhuji. Because great acharyas spoke on this topic, and especially great literature like Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Narada Bhakti Sutras, and even Haribhakti Vilasa, Sanatana Goswami explains some of the concepts. And of course, our Srimad Bhagavatam itself. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions are very clear on this particular topic, that one who has surrendered to a deity in bhakti, it is a one-to-one relationship. It is not one-to-many relationship. So Krishna, briefly touches on this topic in Bhagavad-Gita. Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kurunanda. Ekeha kurunanda. He just briefly touches, because that is not a right place or circumstances to deep dive on that particular topic. But he says that one who is fixed and resolved to accomplish his goal is one. And those whose mind is in Bahusyaka Hemanta Buddhayo Avyavasayana, those are irresolute. There are many branches, and they will accomplish nothing at the end of their life. So it is a singular, Prabhuji. Bhakti, one of the qualities is that bhakti is singular. And Krishna does not force anybody to surrender to him alone. But Krishna says that surrendering to him alone is the topmost. But he does not force anybody to do that. So he gives many options. So our acharyas explain that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is one, but in many forms. And out of that many forms, the form of Krishna is topmost. And the most blissful form, that all the 5 rasas, the primary 5 rasas, fully manifest in Goloka Vrindavan in a relationship with Krishna. So that is a deep dive topic, Prabhuji. But the instructions from Bhagavad-Gita, starting from Bhagavad-Gita itself, it is very clear that bhakti is singular. And we cannot say that I surrender 25% to Krishna and 15% to this person and 10% to that person. So and nobody comes to our rescue. And we have a historical incident when Draupadi was getting Dushasana was getting disrobed Draupadi, and Draupadi was going around Bhishma, Drona, Krupacharya, and everybody, including Dhritarashtra, to save him. And she is also praying to Krishna. And she was praying so intentionally that Krishna at that time was in Dwarka and playing chess with Mata Rukmini. And her cries, Draupadi's cries, Rukmini Mata could able to hear. And she was surprised and said that, "Oh my Lord, I can hear the cries of Draupadi, that she is in deep trouble. And why you are not going there to protect her?" And Krishna said that she is not only praying to me, but she is praying to so many other people. And it will take some more time for her to realize that all those prayers to all those people are useless. And there is absolutely no shelter except me. And in order for Draupadi to realize that she needs more time, little more time. So in the meantime, we can finish up one more game. Let's play that game. So Krishna plays one more game. By that time, Draupadi realizes that Bhishma will not come, Dronacharya will not come, nobody will save her. Then she raised both hands and said, "Hey Govinda, hey Gopala." So Draupadi realized that probably. Draupadi realized that. And Arjuna realized that. And all those Pandavas, all great acharyas realized this. So it takes time probably. And it takes time. We understand that bhakti is singular. And we cannot distribute that.
So Prabhuji, thank you, Prabhuji, for that question. Again, because we keep hearing this question time and again when we are preaching. One other aspect that comes up is, we say at one side we say Krishna is very merciful. You take one step, he takes 100 steps, million steps. Acharyas even say. So that one step has to be again exclusively towards only him. Only then he takes the million steps, or is it like, okay, I've just taken one step, with all my attachments, I've taken one step. Does that step also count?
No. It must be exclusive and complete surrender. So Srila Prabhupada explained bhakti can also be executed in 3 modes. Karma Mishra Bhakti. So it can be executed in Sattva Guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna. So, but when one transcends these 3 modes and chants the pure name and practices bhakti, like Rupa Goswami explained, Anyabhilashita Swami, I don't want anything in return, Krishna. I'm not doing business with you. My only goal is to please you. And when that person reaches that point, that is the state of that is the state beyond 3 modes of material nature. That is when a devotee reaches that state, that person has all the good qualities, and he has done all the yajnas in the previous life. He does not owe anything to Pitrus, Rishis, rivers or anything. He is completely liberated from 3 modes of material nature. But we are not there yet. So our sadhana still happens under the 3 modes of material nature. We still want something. As long as we are hankering for those material gains, so we go after these multiple objects of worship other than Krishna. That's the reason Srila Prabhupada said, even if you want some material benefit, don't go after all these demigods, but go towards Krishna. Ask him. And Krishna can give you material opulences also.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Can I ask a question?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. So Prabhuji, so as you rightly said, right, bhakti is one thing and the material benefits are a different thing. So but Arjuna himself, even though he completely surrendered to Krishna for Pasupatasra, he approached Iswara. So how can we connect with this?
He went to Lord Shiva to get the Pasupatasra, but he didn't surrender to Lord Shiva, and he did not practice his devotional service to Shiva. So those who are devotees of Lord Krishna, they respect and all the demigods, because they are also Krishna's devotees. Lord Brahma is a devotee of Krishna. Lord Shiva, even though Lord Shiva is not a Jiva Tattva, but he is not equivalent to Krishna. He is part of it. Lord Shiva is an expansion of Krishna. But he is not Krishna. So Krishna is Adi Purusha. So when Arjuna approached Lord Shiva, his intention is to take his blessings and get those divine weapons so that he can win the battle. If Lord Shiva does not give those weapons, Arjuna cannot win the battlefield? Absolutely not. So there is nothing in this material world, anywhere cosmos, that if Krishna wants something that he cannot get. But Krishna respects all these, just like Ramchandra, he worshipped Lord Shiva. Right? He worshipped Lord Shiva. It does not mean that Lord Shiva is superior to Ramchandra. So just like Krishna was worshipping his parents, he's putting his chappals on his head, and Krishna was cleaning up the leftover meal plates, the banana leaves at Rajasuya Yagna of all the visitors that came to Rajasuya Yagna. Does that mean that Krishna is inferior to all these? No. So when Arjuna approached Lord Shiva, when the gopis worshipped Katyayani or anybody, we need to understand that it is not a surrender to that particular deity, but it is like a customer who goes to a bank, and the bank chairman is there. But if he wants to withdraw cash, he has to go to the teller. And Lord Shiva is directly responsible for certain things in this material world. And Lord Shiva has all these divine weapons. And Krishna wants Arjuna to get that Pashupatastra from Lord Shiva. And if whether he will use it or not. But Krishna wants Arjuna to get the blessings of all the demigods as much as possible, so that that proves his humility, and that all these demigods will support Arjuna. That's the reason in today's verse, Mataji, if you read the first line itself, O King Yudhishthira, because of your service to the Supreme Lord, all of you Pandavas defeated the greatest dangers posed by numerous kings and demigods. There are some demigods who are inimical towards Pandavas. So, but Krishna, just like that Supreme Father, he wants to take blessings of everybody within the family, and he is asking Arjuna, you go to Bhavani and take the blessings. Just before the night before the battle started, and he told Arjuna, you go and worship Lord Shiva and get Pashupatastra. So he told Arjuna to go to Indraloka and collect all the divine weapons. So, a devotee is humble. Just like that housewife, chaste housewife. And when her husband's friends comes, she serves them and she treats them nicely, but she worships only her husband. And similarly, a devotee is like that chaste wife, that devotee, respects and worships all the other devotees of Krishna, but surrenders to Krishna. The devotional service is focused exclusively towards Krishna, just like that chaste wife allows only her husband in her life.
Haribol. Thank you.
Okay, Mataji?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Prabhuji, thank you for the class, Prabhuji. In Lord Ramayana example, Prabhuji told that all the Vandaras were given a lot of opulence after the war. But if we take that example and start doing devotional service to get all the opulence, so it will not become a pure service devotion. A pure devotional service should be ahetuki apratiyata, like without any motivative.
Yes.
So I got a little confused. Please, Prabhuji, can you?
Yeah. So, Vanaras didn't ask that, Prabhuji. And some of them even died. And some of them were wounded and in pain, and they were not expecting. But Ramchandra, because of his Supreme Father, that fatherly feeling, he is giving all these gifts to them because they suffered so much, and they have much more life to survive. So it is out of his mercy, but it is not that those Vanaras were expecting, and they did all the service in expectation of that. Just like Sudama, right? When Sudama went to Dwarka and gave the chip rice to Krishna, he did not go to Dwarka with an expectation that Krishna will give that huge palaces and filled with gems, diamonds, all those things. But it came anywhere because Krishna, as a merciful friend or a merciful father, he knows the problems of these material life filled with the three modes of material modes, and he wants to make them feel comfortable because they already pleased him. So they achieved the success of their life. So what else that disturbs them? Because they already reached the topmost platform. Sudama Vipra, because he was not willing to ask anything to Krishna, Krishna gave him so much wealth, knowing that Sudama Vipra will not be attached to that wealth. Whether it is Sri Ramchandra or Krishna will give wealth to his devotees only when the Lord knows that this particular devotee will not be attached to that wealth. But when Krishna knows that, yes, this devotee is in trouble, but if I give him the money or wealth or power, he will get attached to that. He will not receive that because that is not good for his devotional service. So we need to understand from that perspective that Ramchandra knows that the Vanaras will not be attached to that wealth, whatever the Lord awards them.
But
Same
in case
thing
of
with
Sugriva also was given wealth and the kingdom back, but he got too much attached. So actually Sugriva, I could not understand. Like, he is also considered one of the greatest devotee of Lord. But how come a devotee got attached to all this wealth and women and even forget the service?
Because Prabhuji, even in Mahabharata, we sometimes see Arjuna getting puffed up.
Yes.
And they were Krishna himself chastises many times that you are a great warrior, but it does not mean that you can insult other people, and especially towards Karna, right? Yeah, Karna did something wrong, but does that not mean that you can do these things? But remember, Prabhuji, all these Krishna, like Srila Prabhupada said, Krishna, even when he comes down into material world, he will not come under the influence of three modes of material nature. He is the only one who can do that trick.
Yes.
But others are susceptible to go that. But they will come under the influence of those three modes. Arjuna doing this, Sugriva falling under the attachment will happen only by the permission of Lord Krishna or Ramchandra. They will be attached to his wife or the power or the wealth only when Lord allows them to go under that influence, because they are already surrendered.
So they may be example for us.
Yes, they want to teach.
Thank you very
much. Because of those examples that we discussed today, probably a devotee who is fully surrendered, he is fully protected by Krishna. Fully protected, have no doubt in that. And when a devotee is fully protected by Krishna, what these three modes can do to them?
Yes. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare
Krishna, Prabhuji's Mataji. So if there are no more questions, we'll wrap up. I think there is one question in the chat. Is that okay? I can ask that, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just seeing the chat. Yeah, so Sheila Mataji asked a question. She has named some persons, but that's okay. Since it's like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Ram Prasad, and so many others acharyas have said the Krishna and Mata Kali is same. Time to time, so many deities was created by Lord Krishna only. Whenever there is any negative energy, Bulokam. This is mentioned by Ramakrishna, Kathamrita book. So if you wish to comment.
First of all, all glories to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, but He is not recognized by the great authorities as a spiritual authority, because he is not from any one of the 4 paramparas. He has some spiritual knowledge, but he is not recognized as an authority. So whatever he explains or does not explain, he is immaterial to those who surrender to Krishna. So our frame of reference is Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. And we have an army of legendary acharyas, right from Lord Brahma to, Srila Prabhupada, the greatest spiritual masters. And they have vast enough wealth, we can dive into that, and we don't have to look for other resources. So basically the Mayavadis, they compare, they project equality. And first they make Krishna equal to other deities, and then the next step is they subserve Krishna to other deity forms. But have no doubt that there is nobody who is equal to Krishna or greater than Krishna at any point in time, whether it is material world or spiritual world. Everybody is a subservient and menial servant of Krishna in his eternal form.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I'm sorry, I'm asking this a little personal question. So, when Srinivas Acharya Prabhu had introduced you, Srinivas Pendyala Prabhu, right? Yeah, so he gave, many years back when he introduced about you to me, he told, so there is this Srinivas Acharya Prabhu lives near Charlotte. That time I think he used to live in Richmond. So he told me that there is this Prabhuji, you should take his association. And so he told how you came to Krishna consciousness. Part of it he told in initial time that you used to read so many philosophies and books and just, chew them away and throw them, like profuse person into philosophy. And knowing all this, like you just talked about Ramakrishna, briefly you talked about him, and so many others like, philosophers. And finally, when you came to Prabhupada, I remember you telling that you read this small book and that was enough. And you felt the whole ocean of knowledge was simply replaced by that one small book. What is just for all of our benefit, including some of new people who are there on the call, what is that one or two things that really made you keep aside an ocean of knowledge and just surrender to Prabhupada in that one book itself? Because everybody speaks so many things.
I think, everybody has a different triggers, Prabhuji, and that trigger clinches the faith. So when I started reading Prabhupada's book, and that one thing that struck so deep into my consciousness was his brutal honesty. He was not willing to compromise anything. He was brutally honest, Prabhupada. There are a few things that I was shocked, and I could not able to continue reading his books because the way he was explaining. And it took time for me to calm down and come back to his books and continue to read. But as I continue to read without giving up, I realized that this is a great person, because at that time I don't know his spiritual background, all those things. There are so many people who wrote commentaries on Bhagavad-Gita, all those things. But this is a person who is speaking without fear or favor, so boldly, the message as it is. And then I extrapolated to two things, Prabhuji. One is humility. And at no point, even though he was speaking such bold truths, I was married and I have already 2 kids. But when he was explaining the complex spiritual philosophies, he was speaking about sex so boldly and upfront that I heard from no other teacher. And they always hide and throw the part of that ill effects of that sex somewhere in a dark closet of your forgotten bedroom. And they know that if they bring that topic before a married person, and they get distracted and they leave away. But Prabhupada, right from day one, he says that this is the one which is killing you. right? So he was so bold in explaining, and then he was very humble in that. And he himself, he was a grihastha, he had several kids, and he struggled, and his life was sincere. And then the next thing when I looked at him was the art that he guided his disciples to produce. The paints, art paints, all those things. And that closed my faith gap. And I went to temple and I saw those paintings, and I was trying to recollect, since as much as my memory goes, I saw Krishna's paintings from so many people. But when I saw those painted by British-born, Canadian-born, American-born devotees, like that, I thought that they were not paintings, but they were actually three-dimensional pictures of Krishna sitting right there. So if somebody can bring those feelings and respect into that picture, he understood the philosophy. So those paintings actually reflected that the person who painted this, or the person who made this person to paint, knows who is Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yes, Prabhuji. So true. Hari Bol. So many people became devotees looking at the picture of Krishna sitting on Yashoda's lap.
Yes.
One of the classic pictures. Many such pictures. Yes, Prabhuji.
But his analogies, Prabhuji, one of the things that struck, there are many. I have several of his memories and teachings. One of them that stuck very, very deep into my consciousness very early, before I accepted him as the authority in my life, is that one day he was explaining that about a widow in Vrindavan, in Radha Damodar temple. So he said he was a sannyasi and he was living in Radha Damodar temple. Every day he wakes up at 4 o'clock and go to Yamuna, take bath and come and wait for the pujari to open the temple door so that he can take the darshan of Lord Damodar. And Prabhupada said, every day, even though I am a sannyasi, every day before I come, there was one widow who is already waiting there before me. She took the bath and she is ready with a pot of water from Yamuna, so that she can give it to the pujari. Pujari can use that to bathe Krishna, Radha Damodar. And Prabhupada said, this particular widow, does she knows the Dvaita, Advaita, Visishta Advaita, all these philosophies? No. Whether this woman can chant the Vedic mantras to the perfect meter? No. Is she most popular person? No. But she has a simple faith in Krishna that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Prabhupada said, and this Mataji, when she leaves her body, she goes back to Goloka. And that is Krishna consciousness.
Yes, Prabhuji. Such a variegated person. So Prabhupada recently celebrated his 120th anniversary, and devotees were speech. I think in ISKCON we can speak more about Prabhupada than Krishna. Sometimes I feel like that, because of how he has shown us amazing things, Prabhuji. How do you get convinced when Prabhupada speaks? Just with his behavior, so many philosophical things become so.
So simply.
Yeah, nobody, as you said, nobody can speak like him. Nobody can ever dare to speak like him. Prabhuji, because you're sharing, if you permit me, I'll just share, what really, when I was in Chennai, I went to Aurobindo for some time. Something was there, that I was searching for, not like as a great saint, I was not searching like that, but something was there. I want to know the truth. I went there, didn't work out. I was in Calcutta. I lived in Calcutta for 1 year plus. I was not Krishna conscious then. I didn't know what is Mayapur in 2001. I went to Ramakrishna. Then I went to so many. Let's keep the names aside. When I went to America, my customer was a staunch Shirdi Sai Baba devotee, right? And he called me for like 20 satsangs of Shirdi Sai Baba. He made me sit literally. And because he's my customer, I have to sit there. I don't have a choice. But I sat there, still wanting to find the higher thing. I want to find the higher thing. I'm sitting there, I'm waiting. But the one thing that struck me is nothing is crystal clearly told. Nothing in any of these places. If, for example, you can eat meat. If you don't wish, you don't eat meat. That's okay, up to you. It's up to you. In all these places, it's up to you. And whichever way you are, he'll accept you. That never convinced me. Like, how can somebody accept me whichever way I am? No, because I don't accept anybody whichever way anybody is, right? If somebody is not good, I don't want to speak to him. So how can God be okay? God accepts everybody, but there has to be some basis. And but when I heard Prabhupada, like the way you explained, literally like a nail, top, no meat eating, top, no intoxication, top, it was difficult, Yeah, I used to tea, coffee are part of Indian life, but somebody says that is intoxicant. And like, come on, this person is not sparing anything. It's like very clearly telling this is what it is. And these things are again, and after telling all that, he says these are just externals. These can be given up easily. More important is anarthas. My God, it was like tak. He was taking up there, and all glories to Prabhupada. I think sometimes it has to be as it is. It has to be as it is. It cannot be, fluidly left here and there. And that's the reason I saw that ISKCON devotees in my initial days itself, that they are so fixed up. And everybody I met, including you in those initial days, so clear, crystal, this is what it is. And that actually helped me settle down. And still helps me settle down because there is no compromise. This is what it is. Yeah, we are not ready for it. Okay, you are not ready for it. You will eventually become ready for it. But the fact remains, you have to get there. With all humility. So,
yeah.
So thank you, Prabhuji. But I heard your story. It was so much from Srinivas Acharya. I still remember when he told me that the way you were convinced, the way you just told, this is what it is. After reading so many things, after knowing so many things, there's a lot of people, they read so many things and they get, completely confused with so much philosophy around. It's very difficult for them to undo. It's very difficult for them to undo. But I think we are very fortunate. That's all I can tell. Everybody of us is very fortunate.
Yeah, Prabhupada is the master articulator. Prabhupada. There is nobody who is like him.
Krishna. Thank you.
Yeah, but today is my birthday, Prabhuji.
Oh, Hari Bol!
Hari Bol.
Had you been in Hyderabad, by now we would have come to your house, Prabhuji.
Yes, yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, by the way, we are sending somebody to America next week. Praveen Prabhu.
Please come. Please come, Prabhuji. Please come to my home.
Yeah, Praveen Prabhu and Praveen Prabhu and Mataji, Suma Mataji, they're joining their daughter Sannidhi in a college in Florida.
UCSD, Prabhuji, San Diego.
Oh, yeah.
UC San Diego.
Oh, in San Diego.
Yeah,
Yes,
UC
Prabhuji.
San Diego.
UC San Diego.
Florida.
Not Florida.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I went to the other side only. So I told down. So I lived in East Coast for a long time. So Florida is comes to me when it says south. Okay. Yeah, San Diego. Yeah. Yes, Prabhuji. So they're coming. We'll be missing them. We had a very nice Janmashtami here, Prabhuji, just to let you know. We did some community programs. We all got really swammed presenting philosophy. One unique thing that we did this time is we made everybody read the verses of Bhagavad-Gita wherever we did the Janmashtami. Unlike just asking them to do performances, children performances, that was okay. But we also made them chant some verse of Bhagavad-Gita. And we told them that you also can learn Bhagavad-Gita. See, you already learned some verses. You already chanted. So please come forward and learn Bhagavad-Gita. Subara Prabhu, on the fly, sold 2 Bhagavatam sets. I don't know what he told them. If he has, I don't know. So a lot of activity happening here. Yeah, and Prabhupada Lilananda also, many of us have bought this time on his 125th anniversary. And we in India are very proud, Prabhuji, that after 70 years of freedom,
Yeah, the coin.
Country has finally known who their great,
Modi is for 18
who
minutes.
is a great Acharya. They've known.
So Prabhuji, Modi has spoken for almost 20 minutes about Prabhupada.
Yeah.
It was so nice to hear him.
Oh yes, yes. Yeah. Have you heard that, Prabhuji? Srinivas Acharya?
Yes,
Yes,
I
yes,
heard.
Prabhuji.
I haven't, Prabhuji.
It is very nice, Prabhuji. Very nice.
Very nice.
Yeah. You know, in nearly after 70 years of Indian history, a pious man became Prime Minister for the first time.
Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji.
You know, all this time atheists were ruling the country, Prabhuji, where the Dharma was established.
Yes, Prabhuji. We are very happy and proud. I mean, we were already proud of Prabhupada. There is nothing to do with anybody declaring it. But today, entire India has known who is Prabhupada. Because Prabhupada is not known to many. A lot of people know ISKCON, but they don't know Prabhupada. They go to ISKCON temple, they eat prasadam when they come out. They see somebody sitting there.
Yeah.
They don't know who is he.
Mhm.
But so nicely, he was told that he's a great Acharya. And the words chosen were very nice. Of course, there is a political angle to it, saying that he's taking India to the whole world. But the message was very clear. And another thing, Prabhupada's birthplace now belongs to ISKCON. That's another thing in Toliganj, Kolkata. So a lot of things have happened. And in Hyderabad temple also, Prabhupada's room is completely renovated. It's like one of the most attractive spots to go now. Earlier it was not even known. A lot of people going to Hyderabad didn't even know that there is a Prabhupada room there where Prabhupada lived. And there was another room where Prabhupada's guests used to wait, which was given to a bakery. Now that it has been taken back from the bakery, saying that it doesn't belong to bakery. That's Prabhupada's room also. So that also is renovated and kept. So I think there is a lot of gratitude that devotees are showing, expressing their love towards Prabhupada. 125th anniversary was really big. It was really big here, and I'm sure around the world it was big. Modi looked at the Zoom, and there were like, I think 50 plus windows from different countries, people logging in. Yeah, that was unbelievable. I mean, that's our society, right? No other organization on the planet has that. Like Prabhupada says, we are the United Nations. So it was such a proud moment, tears spilling over when Prabhupada is being praised because of all the sacrifices he has done. How could any country can pay him back? I mean, at least that much was done. Right. I'm waiting to buy that 125 rupees coin on which Prabhupada. Yes.
Yeah, the Temple of Vedic Planetarium, they sent a link to purchase that coin.
Yeah, that's actually it's in a dual way that that coin is different and this coin is different. That coin is, I think, made by, if I'm right, I'm not speculating, but it's made by TOP to also raise some funds. That coin worth of silver coin is more than, I think, a lakh rupees to buy that coin. And indirectly you also serve Prabhupada by contributing to the TOP project. The coin that Modi launched, I don't know how to take that. I'm still waiting, from where we can buy that. Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah. And thank you very much, Prabhuji, for giving your association. I know it's very late for you every time. For us, it's like day beginning. For you, it's like day already over. It's like night started, midnight. Yeah, I think Praveen Prabhu has sent a link in the group, Prabhuji, if you want to copy that and watch tomorrow maybe. It's a 20-minute lecture. It's not lecture, speech by. Yeah, before that even Kishan Reddy, the religious, not religious, cultural minister of India. He also spoke very nicely. He read it out. The whole event was around 1 hour. And Gopal Kishore Goswami Maharaj, representing ISKCON Bureau, he also spoke. And then Narendra Modi was given to speak. And one thing that Narendra Modi told Prabhuji, I'll end with that, is that he said, whenever I go to any country, when I hear a foreigner or anybody coming and telling me Hare Krishna, I feel I've come home. That was this statement. It was so nice. So nice. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, I have one last question for you. Srinivas Acharya.
Wait. Prabhuji is very late there.
No, Prabhuji, one last question, please.
Prabhuji, I'll take your discussion, Prabhuji. It's very late for you.
No, it's not a discussion, Prabhuji. Straight answer I want.
Ayyo, straight answer.
Yes.
Krishna is supreme.
Sorry, Prabhuji. I want to ask this. You are taking so much pain on every Ekadashi for all of us. What gift can we offer on your birthday?
Yes.
So pray for me, Prabhuji. I am a rascal, so I can chant the pure name of Krishna. I don't have faith in Krishna. I don't have faith in my Guru or the Bhakti. So please pray for me that at some point, even next million lives, I will get the taste of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement.
Sure, Prabhuji, we'll pray for you, but anything you want us to do or any specific gift that we can offer you?
No, Prabhuji, whatever pleases Lilananda Prabhu pleases me.
Whoever goes to Radha Madan Mohan temple in the next 24 hours can go and pray for Srinivas Acharya Prabhu to Radha Madan Mohan. Prabhupada installed DTC.
Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. And for your health also, Prabhuji, will pray. We want you to be healthy and strong, continuing with this. Thank you, Prabhuji.
I had a root canal today, Prabhuji.
Oh, really?
Just 1 hour before, I was thinking, can I do this program or not? So my memory was fading, and I was so sleepy, not well. But I survived, Prabhuji. I survived.
Krishna has watered your roots, Prabhuji. So all these roots are Hare Krishna. Dandot from Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubhya
Pasanubhya pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo
namah. Koti Vaishnav Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Srinivas Acharya Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.